Hi, my name is Gaurav Joshi. I'm from Mastercard Payment Gateways product team. I'm going to demonstrate to you how to build a payment app using Mastercard's mobile SDK. We will do hosted session to collect the card payments, use mobile SDK to process the 3DS transaction on an iOS device. So there are multiple ways of collecting or doing a transaction on Mastercard Gateway, like hosted checkout, hosted session. But today we're going to talk about mobile integration, like using mobile SDK. Collecting a card payment will be via hosted session. So we would be collecting the card payments into a session. The card details would be fed into the session, and then the 3DS flow would be handled by the mobile SDK. Why to use mobile SDK? It's a very simple way of managing the 3DS flow of the entire payment system. So the SDK handles it pretty seamlessly. So that's the benefit of using mobile SDK. You can see the documentation is visible here. Like you can see the documentation of mobile integration here. We'll go over all the testing steps. Also, if you want to download the mobile SDK, you can go here into the merchant admin portal, and here you can download the mobile SDK that you're looking for. So I'm going to use iOS SDK, and there is an integration guide for iOS as well. These are some of the fundamental things that I'll be using in this demo. Now let's look at the demo. So there is the backend, which is a node application, small node application, which is connecting to the Mastercard gateway. This is the front end, the iOS application. I'll run it. As I said, we are going to use hosted session. It is going to run on MTF environment. So this is the one of the products that I'm going to add. So it's into the checkout list. Now I'm creating a session here. Like this is a hosted session implementation to collect the card details. So the iframes are getting loaded onto these edit boxes. Let me put in my details. And this again is a test card to work on Mastercard Gateway's MTF environment. So here on it's all mobile SDK. I really didn't code anything about the authentication part, so we're just calling the authentication functions of the SDK itself. Now this is the issuer returned 3DS page where I enter the code, like OTP page, one-time password page. So when you click on submit, the transaction is successful. The amount is $49. The order ID is ending with F9B. Let's see it in the merchant admin portal itself. It takes couple of seconds to show. Yes, F9B. So the transaction is captured. It's an iOS payment. You can see the payment is authentication is approved and the payment is approved, and it is like the TMV 3DS has been processed. So all the 3DS flow is being managed by the mobile SDK. This is a much easier implementation of rather doing the handling all the ACS page that comes up on an iOS application. The SDK does it for you. So it's much easier for the engineering team who manages the app. Now let's have a look at what's happening in the backend. Let's look at the sequence diagram. It will be very easy for us to follow the sequence diagram. So what's happening? Now when the user clicks on checkout process, the session is being called. The create session API is being called. What it does is like the backend of the app is calling the session API. The gateway is being called. The gateway returns the session ID. The session ID goes back to the app. Now the next step is the card details have to be captured. So the page that is loaded into the app, this is essentially the provider's page, the merchant's page. Here we are calling session.js on these individual edit boxes to capture the card details. Now whatever the card details get captured, they get directly being sent to the gateway. So here the merchant doesn't see those card details. It is directly being sent to the gateway, and and we do a update session. So the card details get updated into the session itself. So those card details will be available in the session. So I'll just quickly show you these 3 steps. I click on checkout. Now here, if you see, the session is being generated. I might have the front end open. Yeah, see, a session is being called. Yeah, a session is generated. Now the SDK, mobile SDK, the session.js is being loaded. Now the session capture, the card details now have to be entered. Now let me open side by side. You click on pay now. Here the card details get updated into the session. Now here the initiate authentication and authenticate pair is being called. Now this is all SDK. This is all mobile SDK. We are not touching anything. Now the last step is, what is happening is, what we are seeing is the payment is successful. Now what we covered here is the mobile SDK is capturing is doing the initiate authentication and authenticate pair. The merchant doesn't need to do anything. The mobile SDK does everything here. Once it is successful, then we do like the payment process. Like we have to send in the, like this is the make a payment of this transaction. So you made a payment. Now that's what we saw. The payment was successful. We had automatically after the initiate authentication and authenticate pair was completed, we automatically completed this pay stage and pay steps. So the payment was successful. So if you see here, let's look at the order ID is 7F2. Let's look at, yeah, so you can see the last transaction. The order ID 7F2 is captured. The transaction is approved. The payment is approved. The authentication is approved. So this is how the steps. If you take these steps, the payment will get approved. So the order ID is 7F2. So now let's go and see how the implementation is being done on the front end and the back end. So let's have a look at the back end. So this is a small Node.js server that I've created. I will be showing you all the API calls that are happening at the back end. First is the session API, create session API that is being called. Where is the routes? I go to the create session API. That is the first route that is being called. We're calling the gateway. We get the response. We read the response. The session is the session ID is the response that we need to get, and this is being sent back to the front end itself. So the session ID is being sent back to the front end. Similarly, the next API call that is happening is for update session. So we are updating the we're updating the session itself. And the second route is the update session. Here we are adding whatever the values is coming from the front end. We are capturing it and going to send it to the gateway. So we get all this session ID, amount, currency, and everything. We put it into the session. We're updating the channel as payer app, payment purpose as payment transaction, updating all these details, order ID and all, and then we are sending this request to the gateway. So we are sending this request to the gateway. We receive a response, and we send this information back to the front end as well. So if there is an error, we capture that as well. Now here at the fourth step, there is no interaction with the Node.js backend. So this is all SDK. We don't touch this aspect. And the last route that we call is the payment route. Again, payment route is we'll go to the payment route. Yeah, this is the payment route. Again, here we are sending the transaction ID. We are getting the session ID and order ID. Uh, we are capturing all this information, session, order ID, and we are calling the pay API operation. And here this is the pay API operation that is being called. We get a response. If it's a successful response, we mention that the payment was processed successfully, else we handle that error. So it's a simple three API calls that are being handled at the backend. It's a very simple implementation for the API calls. Now we will switch to the front end API. Now how the front end is being configured. We'll quickly go over the front end as well. Let us go over the front end implementation now. So this is the Xcode application that we have. I have the application open in front of us. First, the entry point for the app is Mastercard payment app _ GJ app. This is the entry point of the application itself. We are triggering app delegate.self. Here in app delegate, we are initializing the SDKs, the SDKs, mobile SDKs that we have. You have to import these two into your project. The one that you downloaded from the Mastercard payment gateways merchant admin page. You downloaded the SDK. You have to add it to your project. Then you have to go here into the general section, go and add it into the framework libraries and content embedded section, make it embedded and sign. So that basically the SDK is available to the project itself. So now the SDK is available. You have to initialize the SDK. The documentation of the SDK is also, you can also find the documentation of the SDK. It's again in the merchant admin page. You can download it from there. It looks something like this. This will help you install the SDK, initialize the SDK. So I've already done this. I'll quickly show you how this is done. So in the app delegate, we are just initializing the SDK, putting the values. What is the merchant ID? What is the region? And so once this is done, like you have to hook it up to the project. So this is already hooked up to the project. Like here, it's already hooked up. Now what we have to do is the way this application is implemented is like I'm going to the home view after this. This screen that you see here, this is the home view. Home view is where the user can select items. They can. This is basically your implementation of the project. Like you can browse products and add to cart. So click on add and click on checkout. So this is the home view implementation. You can implement however way you like it. So the home view basically it's your product catalog screen. You'll see a grid of items, grid of products. You can add to the shopping cart. Click on checkout. It basically manages the cart state. You can have a currency picker. I mean, it's like how you want to implement it. Like there is a cart bar at the bottom. When the user clicks on checkout, like the whole the currency the currency and the amount is being passed to the next page. That is the payments view page, where the user will see the summary of the order and the card details that need to be put in. So this is a very fairly straightforward implementation. It is again, it's up to your discretion how you want to implement it. So I'll just keep it at high level here. So now let's look at how the card details page is being loaded. We remember we did the hosted session JavaScript that is being called. So when I say that, I'm talking about this page that is loading here and the JavaScript that is being called, which is getting loaded on top of these edit boxes. So we'll quickly see that file. So this is basically a file that is a secured card entry form inside a web view. Like whatever the card details that you enter is directly going to the gateway. It doesn't get saved in the app itself. It's directly reaching the Mastercard servers. So what is happening here in this is like this JavaScript, the session.js is being called. Now once that is being called, we are essentially calling, these are the edit boxes, the card holder name, card number, month, year. See, you can see these are all read only fields. So nothing is being entered or saved by the app itself. It is being configured, or it is being like these, the data that is coming into these fields are directly reaching the gateway. So how is that happening? It is happening here, like you're calling the configure hosted session, all these fields like the card number, security number, these are being called, and all the data that is being collected by these fields are getting updated into the session itself. So once you click on like a submit button, so once you click on the submit button, all these fields are being sent to the gateway. So I'll just show you this submit card. Yeah, so the update session is being called, and all the details that are being selected in this card, all of them is being saved into the session itself. So it's a pretty simple implementation. Here again, all these card details that we see here, like I enter here, all of this is being saved directly into the session itself. Now if you so this is the session ID. This is the session ID. All of that card details get saved there. You see all the card details are getting saved inside that session. Okay, let's talk about the next file, that is network manager. Basically, network manager is a file that speaks to the backend. It is talking to our Node.js server. So whatever communication is happening, that's between the backend and the Mastercard gateway directly. The front end application is not speaking with the Mastercard gateway. So all the credentials, API passwords, everything is in the server, not in the front end. So network manager just sends like these requests, especially when we are creating a session, when we are updating a session request, payment request, all of this we are just calling the backend application. So as you can see, this is like a simple create request, create session function that is being called. We are just sending a post request to the backend. Here it's like a server call. Like you can look at the API specs, like create session, the integration guide. You can look at the documentation for create session, update session, and like a pay operation. All of this, the same operations are being called here. So we looked at the create session, we looked at the update session, and whatever response that we get from the backend, it is being saved here. And similarly, what is coming from the payment request, also payment request is also coming here into the front end itself. So the system knows that yes, was it a successful payment or not a successful payment. I'll show you a sequence diagram of all how the files interact with one another, so it's easier for you to visualize. But again, this is your implementation. You can decide how you want to implement it. Now let's look at how the payment is actually happening. We'll go to the payment view. To explain this file, let me open the sequence diagram. It will be easier for you to comprehend what is exactly happening. So payment view is one of the file that we have. Payment view model is another file that we have. This is basically the page that is once you are here, like once you have in the checkout, once you click on checkout, this is the payment page that comes up. So it has the order summary, the payment amount, card details, and pay now button. So here the payment view model is one of the file. Network manager is the file that speaks with the node backend, and which in turn speaks with Mastercard gateway. So let's double click on payment view file. So payment view file is, as I mentioned, it has got header section, order summary section. Just a second. Yeah, order summary section, hosted card, and payment button section. Uh, Now, as you can see, these are like it's stacked one over the other in a scrollable fashion. Let's click on. Uh, let's show. The first part is like, once this page is loaded, there is this prepare session is happening. If you remember, when you click on checkout, a session is being called. See, these pages are getting on one on top of the other. They are being called. So this is the session being generated. So let's click on session. So session, here we are creating a session, we are updating a session. So this is like when your prepare session is being called, then we go to the network manager to create a session and update a session. This is all happening. I can show you as well. So when you click on create a session, it is going to the network manager creating a session. Similarly, if you go to update a session, it will go to update session, go to the network manager, send it out to the gateway, and the information comes back to the app itself. Now, so we have completed step 1. Step 2, the session has also been updated. Now the third part is the PCI compliance, the the session JS that has to be called. Now, how is that called? Now we have to go back to the payment view. Now inside the payment view, inside the payment view, we have to go to the hosted card session. Right, let's hosted card section. Let's go here. We have to go to then yeah, this is the page. So hosted card entry view. Now this will take us to the hosted card entry view. Now this is where the JavaScript is loaded, the JS file session.js is loaded, the entire page that you saw. So when you click on it, this whole page now the JavaScript is being loaded. See this whole page, and whatever card details that you enter here, that will be saved into the session itself. Now when you in the sequence diagram, you can see the JavaScript is loaded, the card details are entered. Then once you click on start payment, start payment is in the payment view. Then pay now button, once it is clicked, the start payments method is called. Let's go to that view. Where is it? Like, okay, pay button. Okay, initiate payment. Once you click on initiate payment, the start payment is called start payment. Then it goes to the payment view model. Now payment view model, this is basically submitting the hosted session that was called, the card details that were called, and that is being saved here. So this part gets completed. Then we have so we have the hosted entry view. It goes to this view. This view is captured, the 3D is captured, the card details have been captured. Now you come here, then we have to go to this view, the initiate postcard steps. Here in the initiate postcard steps, we are opening on hosted session card captured. Basically the card details have been captured. Now is the part of 3DS authentication. Now I'm calling these two functions one after the other. authenticate the 3ds using the SDK. This is where the SDK is being called. Once the SDK is being called and once the call gets completed, then we immediately process the payment. Now let's just to give you a sense where we are. So we have completed the collection of the card. Now we are here. The 3ds secure authentication is being started. So authenticate 3ds is being called. It is if you see, it is going to the network file. Okay, let's open this. Let's jump to the definition. This is the SDK that is being called, and this is the gateway service. This is the SDK that is being called. Here, if you see all the functions of authenticate 3ds. So there are two steps to it: initiate authentication and authenticate pair. Both are being handled by the SDK, so you don't have to handle that part. The SDK handles the initiate authentication and authenticate pair. The ACS page that comes up, the user just needs to enter the OTP, the one-time password challenge that comes up. So once you just call authenticate 3ds, the 3D challenge is thrown, the user enters the 3D challenge like the OTP page, and the challenge is completed, and the response comes back. So here now the 3ds authenticate the 3ds challenge is completed. Then we immediately go to process the payment. The processing the payment is the next step. Here we are calling again the network file that we have. Basically we're going to call the gateway after that. So the network manager puts in the session, order, payment, transaction ID, all of this information, and then the transaction is being processed. The gateway responds that the payment is completed. So the screen, in the last screen, you will see the response receipt page in the mobile app itself. Let me restart the app. So I add one item, go to checkout, the SDK is being loaded, the session is being loaded. Now the card details, sorry, the initiate authentication is being called in the backend. Now the ACS page comes up. This is coming from the issuer. You said yes. Now the transaction happened, the payment was successful. So what I just demonstrated is this mobile SDK handles the ACS flow very well without much development effort. So this is a very good way of implementing 3ds flow with mobile SDK that we have. I've just demonstrated with iOS. It also works with the Android app as well. So that's it. Thank you for viewing this integration tutorial. For more details on Merchant Cloud and our services, please visit mastercard.com/merchantcloud. Thank you very much.